What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the program. Thank you so much for being with us. As always, we got a great show for you. Last week, President Trump really sending, it's not gotten a lot of attention, the attention it should really deserve, considering most of my life, everybody's been talking about UFOs, and it's the one conspiracy theory where you really, if you talk about it, you're thought of as nuts and crazy. That's less the case now. President Trump seeming to indicate that aliens are real, spacemen from Mars or whatever, that there's files on it that they're going to be releasing. Now, a lot of people are saying, hey, this is a convenient distraction because we're still waiting on a lot of the names in the Epstein files and things like that. But there is a popular theory online that these entities from outer space are not from outer space, that they're actually demons. You decide. We're going to talk about it. Are aliens really demons? The Paul Harrell program starts right now.
The Paul Harrell program.
All right, everybody. I hope everybody had a fantastic weekend. I hope you had a blessed Lord's Day. And I want to remind everybody to like, share, and subscribe to the channel wherever you're watching. Please do all the things on whatever platform you are watching. We would very, very much appreciate it. Rob Spencer is with me, my co-host. Rob, how was your weekend, sir?
Paul, it was fantastic. Glad to be in studio to start this week. Well, obviously, we've got a whole host of things that we're going to be discussing today. And this alien versus demons thing, of course, we're going to talk about what happened at Mar-a-Lago and the guy, going in there with whatever it was,
shotgun and a gas can.
And I've got some thoughts about what was said about that on Fox News and just really how it was downplayed. And I just said, well, you've never played Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah.
Because Grand Theft Auto, you shoot a gas can, it causes mass destruction. And, there was a lot of legal experts that were believed that, this guy was an amateur and all of this stuff and, really wasn't out to hurt somebody. And I'm like, I don't see how that's
really,
So we've got all of that. We've got fallout from the Supreme Court rulings, all of this stuff. Don't know that we're going to get to everything, but excited to be on the show.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why pretty soon the show, we're going to expand the show to 2 hours.
Yeah,
we decided that today.
Got the news today that this show is expanding.
Yes, expanding to new horizons.
Yeah, new platforms, all of that stuff. We've been picked up by a national program here that's wanting to carry our show, and so that's pretty exciting.
We'll be announcing that very soon.
Yep,
so
we're excited. More details about that.
All right, so for the interest of time, because there is a ton of stuff that's happened over the weekend, but I wanted to get to this because on Thursday, that was the last show we did last week. We towards the very end, we played for you this clip. I'm going to pull it up right now of President Trump on Air Force One, and he said something that got a lot of people's attention. This is what he said.
Barack Obama said that aliens are real. Have you seen any evidence of non-human visitors to Earth?
Well, he gave classified information. He's not supposed to be doing that.
So aliens are real?
Well, I don't know if they're real or not. I can tell you he gave classified information. He's not supposed to be doing that. He made a big mistake. He took it out of classified information. No, I don't have an opinion on it. I never talk about it. A lot of people do. A lot of people believe it. Do you believe it, Peter?
The president can declassify anything that he wants to, so if you want to make an announcement.
I may get him out of trouble by declassifying.
We know Barack Obama.
Interesting that when we were growing up, they were called UFOs. Just first observation. Now they're UAPs, unidentified aerial phenomenons. Or phenomenon,
I haven't heard that.
I believe that's what it stands for. And I think one of the reasons is just because the idea that they're corporeal objects is now being called into question. Sometimes it's just lights in the sky that don't make any sense. And I think that's why I actually think that lends credence to the argument that there's something spiritual going on here. Because, and I'll just preface this conversation with, if you start going down the path that these are in any way interdimensional entities, well, that's just biblical. That's just a modern day way of saying what the Bible would call spiritual. I believe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that the unidentified flying object thing, I don't know I don't know how much validity that ever had compared to like when you see, all right, well, there's these drones that people own. Like people have their own drones that are as large as a car, like a sedan. And so they've got these huge drones. And so, some of these get souped up. They've got interesting looking lights. They come out at no time. Like there's no record of them, all of that stuff. And so you can see how a lot of this stuff could be explained away. But this is sort of a pop culture. This is a phenomenon. This has been around forever. And I just don't know what I believe with it.
Okay, well, good. I'm glad that you don't know what you believe.
Okay.
Secondarily, I'll say this before we get into this, and that is, I don't remember where I heard this. I think it was on that those couple Australian guys that have this podcast called Mysterious Universe. Mm-hmm. I don't listen to them regularly, but every now and then, like they have these incredible. But they did an episode maybe a year or two ago on Bigfoot.
Okay. And
one of the things they said, I thought this was so incredible that the situation is reversed. Like if you were to say that you believe in Bigfoot today, people would think you're more crazy than if you said you believed in UFOs. But back when we were growing up, the argument was it was the opposite.
Oh, sure.
Yeah,
Bigfoot was real. I've seen the picture.
I just think that's funny how the public perception has changed. But here is an old article from the Daily Star that was written back in September of 2023. And here is the headline. Read this headline and you tell me what you think. Bible-reading Pentagon commanders halted UFO research over fears aliens were demons. A major figure, according to the Daily Star, in the Pentagon's UFO research agency claims that fundamentalist Christians within the establishment blocked him because they thought UFOs came from hell, by Michael Moran. Leading UFO researcher Ron James says senior figures in the U.S. government fear aliens are in fact demons. Ron, who is the director of media relations for UFO research group MUFON, claims there is a very large contingent of people within the Pentagon who oppose the work of the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program because they think UAPs regularly reported by U.S. military sources are piloted by creatures from hell. He says he was told...
I'm sorry. Well, that's
the editorial version.
That's really good writing.
That is really
These
good.
These are piloted from hell.
You're right. It is really good. A hat tip to them. He says that he was told by Luis Elizondo.
Close enough.
Elizondo, yeah, who has gone on record as being the boss of the AATIP. It was not just a little voice in the Pentagon, but a huge group of people thought the phenomenon was being witnessed. The phenomenon that was being witnessed was demons. Okay, the read's not much longer. The fundamentalist Christian lobby. By the way, listen how this is phrased: the fundamentalist Christian lobby, and I will stand by what I said on Thursday. If there ever is some sort of actual invasion or the revealing of these people, whatever they are. There will be plenty of people like me that are going to say, hey, look, this is spiritual, this is demonic and everything else. And especially if they come bearing, a lot of technology, I think Christians will be marginalized even more than they are today to a very negative sense,
sure.
Like open persecution. Anyway, this fundamentalist Christian lobby within the U.S. defense establishments actually affected Elizondo's ability to get funding. Ron says, that's what Ron says, belief in the UFOs and the literal truth of the Bible is not entirely incompatible, he adds. For example, Ron spoke staunchly Christian U.S. Congressman Tim Burchett. He says, I sat down and interviewed him. His feeling was that if you look in the Bible and you look at Ezekiel building the wheel, there's a lot of people that think that was a spaceship. He adds that that His Holiness the Pope has officially acknowledged that there is life on other planets. Disagree with that. But the strong arm of religious fundamentalism within political circles has actively hindered research into UFOs, according to this report, according to Ron. So anyway, the point is that this is not, it's more popular than you would think. The comments that I saw, a lot of comments.
Yeah.
In the wake of what this debate that Trump started, have been saying, no, they're demons, they're demons. Mm-hmm. here is this was the actual headline, so this is where I got that. Okay, so here's the other side, which I thought was funny. I don't know this guy, some guy named Paul Jones. Paul Jones says, people think the phenomenon is demons. Please direct them to this film clip. What we are dealing with is extremely advanced technology. We are just the same as the indigenous people depicted here. And so what we have here by Paul Jones on X, he is posting a clip from Star Trek, the third Star Trek or whatever, over
I've
the
never
last...
watched any Star Treks at all.
And
Sheldon Cooper would be upset.
And so I'm not gonna. I'll just play it. I'm not gonna play the audio here because we'll get some sort of copyright strike from Paramount. So anyway, they're on this planet. The Enterprise is hidden because they've got to go blow up a volcano or save the planet from being. Anyway, so here they are. Here's the indigenous people, and then towards the end, after they save the day, now the indigenous people are worshiping what they saw in the sky, which is the Enterprise or whatever. So it's pretty funny though that he's using this guy is saying, no, they're not demons. We're just the indigenous people. And he's using a work of fiction to try to support his point, which I thought was humorous. I'll also say that without
Bizarre.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
It's bizarre
Cut
to
me
me.
off.
It's bizarre to me. I just think this whole thing is out there. But far out kind of thing.
This is one of the most far out topics that we've ever discussed. On the show.
And so it is used as a pejorative against, right? Like when you're talking about people who are saying, "Oh, we believe in life on other planets. We believe in alien beings. We believe in this. This is 100% happening." Then people use that as a slam against you, right? And they're like, hey, "This guy believes in UFOs," right? It's a slam. What was interesting was how Trump answered that question. And I think that's ultimately what has sparked all of the topic.
Yes.
And that is, he didn't say, "Oh, well, I told you Obama was crazy." Like, that's not how he responded. He responded, well, he gave classified information there. What's classified? What's in there? Area 51? Does it really exist? I saw Independence Day. Where's Bill Pulliam? Like, I'm telling you, there are a lot of individuals who have locked into what Trump said there and how he said it and what he didn't say and all of that. And Peter even followed, Peter Ducey follows up with that confirmation here. Like, so you're saying
they're real?
So you're telling me they're real, right? And so what are we left to believe? What are we left? The government, it seems as if the government has some sort of evidence of UFOs or whatever they're called now, UAPs. Okay, it stands to reason that it seems like the government has some sort of protocol that says, hey, if this is talked about, this is deny kind of thing. I don't know, but I can say that he could have answered that 100 million different ways that would not have sparked a conversation.
100%. And you can find, and again, I'm going to keep going down this because the conspiracy theorists continue to be right, over time. They get mocked, and then, of course, once the truth comes out, then we get gaslit and say, oh, it's not really the truth of what you say.
Conspiracy theories, we're almost undefeated.
I mean, but back at the height of COVID,
right,
or when people started coming out of the slumber of the psyop that was COVID, there were people saying, okay, well, there's going to be a fake alien invasion next. Like anything to distract, anything, or whatever. And that brings me to, if we're going to talk science fiction here, well, Star Trek proves, because really what fundamentally, as a Christian, I believe this is to disprove God. There are these people that believe that, humanity evolved because some alien life form created us, right? And I think ultimately a lot of the secular scientists or straight-up Satanists will try to use any kind of revelations about aliens to try to disprove God.
Sure.
I think 100% that's what they'll do. But there's also science fiction that has other implications in terms of what these things really are. There was a science fiction novel by Arthur C. Clarke, called Childhood's End. Have you ever heard of this?
No.
There's the plot summary. Basically, in the late 20th century, the United States and Soviet Union are competing to launch the first spacecraft into orbit when alien spaceships suddenly position themselves above Earth's principal cities. After 1 week, the aliens announced they are assuming supervision of international affairs to prevent humanity's extinction. They became known as the overlords in this novel. In general, they let humans go on conducting their affairs in their own way, although some humans are suspicious of the overlord's benevolent intent because they never allow themselves to be seen. They just stay in their spaceships and they don't.
You mean
allow
they flew in on an object here
They
and
did.
they've taken over a city and they're saying it's for your own good.
It's for your own good.
Yeah, and we don't believe you.
The overlord Karellan, which sounds really much like a Karen, honestly. The supervisor of Earth periodically meets with Riki Stormgren, the Secretary General of the United Nations. Karellan tells Stormgren that the overlords will reveal themselves eventually in 50 years when humanity will have become used to their presence. When the overlords finally reveal their appearance, they resemble the traditional Christian folk images of demons, with cloven hooves, leathery wings, horns, and barbed tails. Humankind enters a golden age of prosperity at the expense of creativity. And then the novel goes on to talk about what they're doing to the kids. They're they're giving them psychic powers, yada, yada, yada. The entire world is incinerated and the aliens leave or the demons leave or whatever. Anyway, my point is this idea that aliens are not men from Mars, but they're actually more, of course, they actually were from another planet, I believe, in this novel. But I'm just saying the connection between aliens and demons is not something that's new here. And then we get to this. Peter Thiel on Joe Rogan. Okay. By the way, if you ever want to look up the C.S. Lewis space trilogy, that's something as well. You could also talk about that because it's known as the Ransom Trilogy. It consists of 3 science fiction novels published between 38 and 45. The series blends adventure, philosophy, and Christian theology, exploring themes of good versus evil, spiritual warfare, and humanity's place in the cosmos. It follows philologist Elwin Ransom as he becomes entangled in interplanetary conflicts involving angelic and demonic forces. So, but this gets back to Peter Thiel. He said something on Joe Rogan a while back about what a true alien race would have to accomplish. Now he's deducing this through logic. I know. Did you listen to this?
No.
Okay. This is something I've never thought about. He exposes the huge plot holes in series like Star Wars and Star Trek. Okay. But it's bigger than that. Listen to this.
I always wonder, and again, this is a little bit too simplistic an argument, but I always wonder that I'm about to give, but what the alien civilization can be like. And if you have faster than light travel, if you have warp drive, which is probably what you really need to cover interstellar distances, what that means for military technology is that you can send weapons at warp speed, and they will hit you before you see them coming. And there is no defense against a warp speed weapon.
Think about that.
Okay.
And you could sort of take over the whole universe before anybody could see you could see you coming. And this is by the way, this is sort of a weird plot hole in Star Wars, Star Trek, where they can travel in hyperspace, but then you're flying in the canyon on the Death
shoot
Star.
so slow you can see the bullets.
Yeah, it's like and then you're doing this theatrical Klingons versus Captain Kirk at 10 miles per hour or
It's
20
funny.
miles per hour or whatever.
It's
right?
funny when you put it that
it's
way.
an absurd plot hole.
Yeah.
And so it tells us that I think that if you have faster than light travel, there's something really crazy that has to be true on a cultural, political, social level. And there may be other solutions, but I'll give you my 2. One of them is that you need complete totalitarian controls. And it is the individuals, they might not be perfect, they might be demons, doesn't matter, but you have a demonic totalitarian control of your society where it's like you have like parapsychological mind meld with everybody, and no one can act independently of anybody else. No one can ever launch a warp drive weapon.
So you see, we're going to keep. I want to. You see what he's saying? He's saying that's one option. If you've got faster than light travel and you're from Mars or whatever, your society has got to. You basically have solved war in some way, shape, or form because with a faster than light weapon, you would destroy each other, or they would have to have some sort of peace. Or maybe, I don't know, shields. Maybe shields. Who knows? But I want to let him finish here.
And everybody who has that ability is in like a mind meld link with everybody else or something like that. You can't have libertarian, individualistic free agency.
Right.
And then I think the other version socially and culturally is they have to be like perfectly altruistic, non-self-interest. They have to be angels. And so the Pazulka literal thing I'd come to is the aliens, it's not that they might be demons or angels, they must be demons or angels if you have faster than light travel. And both of those seem pretty crazy to me.
Now that's a fascinating intellectual exercise. Now again, this assumes that these aliens are actually from other planets. He's saying if they had the technology to get here, they're either totally demonic and dark and are totalitarian, or they're without original sin and they're just totally benevolent and they would never harm somebody else, which is a fascinating thing to consider. Also love the plot holes that it throws up in Star Trek or Star Wars. My contention is, and there's other people online that are saying this, and even to use pop culture for a reference, I guess I'll be a hypocrite here because I criticized the Star Trek guy putting his argument out there. But I mean, if you go watch Indiana Jones 4, which is was panned by the critics, the whole premise of that was that the aliens were actually interdimensional beings. Well, again, once you get to their interdimensional beings, or you're over in Switzerland with a Hadron particle accelerator, allegedly trying to open up portals, or you can find anybody that says anything at this point. Once you go down that path, how is that not just spiritual at that point? If it's another dimension, you think I'm crazy?
No, I don't think you're crazy. It's just one of those things where I look at the implications of what Trump said, as I said earlier. I look at the implications of what does it mean? It just means that there's still a lot of unknowns, but that people in power are having the same questions that you and I are having. Okay. And I don't know. I don't know what the solution is. I don't know if they'll ever, and unless we see Independence Day happening and them hovering in these huge, spacecraft over a major city, I just don't know that we're going to have answers, because everything, especially now with the advent of AI, it's
very difficult.
proof, that is produced is going to be questioned and
well, I mean,
not believed.
Over the last month, we've seen a lot of evil in our leaders. A whole lot of evil in our leaders on display because of the Epstein files and everything else. And you would assume that if there was some sort of, spacemen, and we've got these files, and we've got these, alien files, not Epstein files, but we got these alien files or whatever. I mean, and there's clearly been a cover-up of what exactly we're seeing. By the way, there's actually a ministry. There's a Christian ministry that shows up at some of these conventions, these UFO conventions, to help people who've been abducted and to tell them, hey, next time you're abducted, try saying the name of Jesus Christ.
Sure. And
there's plenty of testimony out there that when that happens, they are left alone. They are actually saved by invoking the name of Jesus. The universal sovereign tends that these entities don't like that, according to some reports that are out there. But we want to know about evil, and I think it would make let me just ask this. What if you have our leaders, whoever they are, maybe they're elected, or maybe they're the people that are pulling the strings of the elected, that think they're talking to some spaceman from Mars when they're really not. They're really talking to something that's much darker and is actually, spiritual or demonically influenced or a fallen angel or whatever you have me.
Right.
I think if we're going to go down that road, we at least need to consider it. We don't need to think, well, that'll never happen, because I'm telling you, the world is ripe for the next psychological operation. Mm-hmm. If you thought it was bad with COVID and putting your mask on or whatever, or the forced vaccines, you just imagine the absolute mass hysteria.
Right.
And how people, especially those on the left, will be begging for some sort of stability in a world that now is uncertain. And on that, the evil that I was talking about, I came across, and I think this works well together. I think you'll see the web I'm trying to weave here. There's a guy by the name of Dr. John DeMartini, and he was on a podcast. A guy by the name of Aubrey Marcus had him on his show, and this, in my opinion, puts a philosophy to the evil that we have witnessed in the Epstein files, of what they've done to kids and of everything else. And I want you to listen to this. I'm going to prepare you, Rob. This is going to be absolutely outrageous to you. The podcast actually ended early because of the stuff that this guy, Dr. John DeMartini, was saying. And I warn you, because this is disturbing.
Everybody who's been raped attracted it into their life.
Anytime you're addicted
No,
to
answer this question. Everybody who's been raped attracted that rape into their
1,300
life.
cases of pedophilia.
And the children attracted the pedophile.
You really want to go there? Let's
Yeah.
go. All these things that we label good and bad have been labeled good or bad depending on who you're taking sides with.
I have a really hard time with this. If I went home today and somebody was assaulting my wife, I would forcibly stop it.
Probably.
No,
Because you
not
would value,
probably, 100%
Well, you
certainly.
would-
I wouldn't say, maybe this is his belief and this is my belief.
You're going to react in that setting exactly proportioned to your morality at the time. If you see what he's doing as evil, you're going to do what you can to stop him.
But it is evil.
In your perception, it will be.
It's not okay to beat a child to a pulp. It's not okay to sexually assault a child. There is something actually fundamental inside of us that is on a driving force towards life, love, freedom, the experience to live this beautiful world. And if somebody is intentionally interfering with that, we have an obligation to try and prevent or stop it. You can override your impulses. I've wanted to hit somebody and not done it.
You've repressed it inside yourself and then attacked your customers right here in front of me.
I'm attacking you?
Well, you're basically taking information that goes against what you say, and you're saying, I'm just going to refuse to put it on my show because of it. It's like a fight to you. It doesn't match your belief system, so you're ready to fight and attack.
Your hands are shaking.
When you say that you're going to not go any further on a podcast because of what I'm saying,
Because
that means
fundamentally...
it challenges you and you're wanting to avoid it.
No, because it's putting out information that I think is detrimental to the world.
I'm not going to pacify my research for any human being on this planet. Nobody. The reality is that there's upsides to that event.
There's upsides to the murder of children.
Yes, there's upsides to it.
I think we're going to have to stop here, John.
So this is a you want to know why people can look themselves in the mirror? I mean, now this is just really articulating Satanism, and in my opinion, that's what this is. And it's essentially a philosophy that says there is no difference between me hugging you and me raping you. There's no difference between me hugging you and me murdering you. And it's incredible to hear somebody in a suit and tie looking like they're a civilized person espouse this kind of stuff, this kind of wickedness.
And even he's constantly trying to yield back to his research. I'm not going to go against my research to pacify you. I don't think that there's any valid research that could ever say it's okay to, sexually assault or physically abuse a child. I don't think that there's ever any research that can say any good can come from, sexually assaulting a woman. Now, the woman may take that terrible, awful moment and turn it into something positive, meaning, become a speaker that speaks
or perseverance.
out.
Just the fact that you would be able to persevere after something like that.
Get a new law passed if something, whatever. Like, there may be some good that comes of it.
I don't think that's what he's saying.
Yeah, that's not what he's saying. He's saying that the act itself is only bad if you perceive it through your own morality. And that is, to me, a new level of psychosis where you have rationalized that it's okay to rape a woman or rape a child if it's in your morality to say that it's okay. Mm-hmm. You don't get to decide what's in your morality that's okay, and not if it's a crime. Okay, you don't get to say that. Like, hey, I choose not to, say GD, right? I don't like someone to take the Lord's name in vain, right? So I won't say those things. It's in my morality to not say those words. Okay, it could also be not in someone's their morality. They may say those words, and that's for their choice. But that's because it's not a crime. They get to make that decision. He's talking about blatant crimes where people can go to jail. And you would say, well, the laws are based on your morality. No. You are taking a position of power. Your position of power as a man, we understand on average, a man is going to have more power than a woman. Okay. An adult is going to have more power than a child on average. And you are taking your position of power to do whatever you please. And when you're breaking laws, you don't get to hide by, well, my morality says that it's okay. My morality says that this is not a bad thing. This man has some sort of predisposed bias. If it allowed him to do research that said it's okay to rape a child, it is okay to rape a woman. If it's morally okay with you, you're allowed to do it.
It's really insane. And you raise an interesting point about morality. The truth of the matter is that morality is objective, but it's only if it's based on the God of heaven. And we get our morality derived from the character of God that we find in the Bible. That's where it comes from. And you can also say there's a general revelation, a natural revelation as well, because
natural law exists.
It's not just Christian nations that have laws against murder, right? Even non-Christian nations have that same thing. So, but it's based on what? And if you get to a situation where this guy who's advocating, I mean, he even said there in the beginning that victims of pedophilia have drawn this into themselves. So it's kind of weird too, because it's like, wait a second. So you do believe in some form of fate or some sort of, I guess, and I'm probably misrepresenting his specific research. I don't really care though.
What the hell?
I'm sorry. I don't really care to give that guy the benefit of the doubt in anything.
So I want to give the specific case to him, which is one of the most horrific things I'd ever heard of. And it was I believe it was a brother or a stepbrother had taken his niece, into the basement and raped the child to death. Raped this child so badly that their life could not be saved. And that their niece was 9 months old, a baby. And this sick bastard would sit there and say that baby drew that into herself. Listen, go ahead and practice sitting on warm seats, sir, because I am not God and I don't get to be your judge, but I can tell you I've read a Bible, and you're going to have a hot seat in hell if that's how you feel.
Essentially, and this is the title of the YouTube video, No Such Thing as Evil, ? Shocking debate. Again, this guy, Dr. John DeMartini.
Yeah.
And the beginning of this actually has a few different cuts. Hang on, watch this.
Even Jesus wasn't one-sided. There's a whole lot of text on there that doesn't show him that one-sided state.
He was neither good nor bad.
He was neither. All these things that we label good and bad have been labeled good or bad depending on who you're taking sides with.
I have a really hard time with this.
Just
if I
not
went
true.
home today and
Fundamentally, what's been labeled good or bad from a Christian context is because of what of what the Bible says.
But he was.
And I'm sure he'll be like, well, the Bible wasn't written by God. But
assaulting my wife. I would forcibly stop it.
Probably.
No,
Because you would
not
value...
probably, 100%
Well,
certainly. I wouldn't say, maybe this is his belief and this is my belief.
You're going to react in that setting exactly proportionate to your morality at the time. If you see what he's doing as evil, you're going to do what you can to stop him.
But it is evil.
In your perception, it will be.
Rumi is the same as the judge.
So you want to know why? You want to know why we read about all this horrific stuff in the Epstein files? It is the outworking of that philosophy, which is really just a bunch of words and a bunch of human rhetoric to try to say, I want to be my own God. I want to worship myself. I'm going to do whatever it is feels good or whatever I want to do. Right. Fundamentally, that's all this guy is, and yet it's souped up in a suit and tie, and it's really not even worth a civilized conversation.
Sure, it's not. But here's the thing. You're absolutely right. When you look at these individuals, and we've talked about it on the show, like, how do you sleep at night? How do you go into a bedroom and sexually assault a 7-year-old and feel and sleep? How do you put your head down at night and still sleep, right? And it's that same indifference for life is it's the same, like, that's how a serial killer can rest comfortably. That's how, a serial spousal abuser can sit and say, well, she deserved this, or she brought it upon herself, right? They do that. But then you're talking about this individual. So there's an interesting debate that happens. If you are not a Christian, right, or if you are not of faith, where does your morality come from, right? And so Charlie Kirk, when he was still alive, would say, he's like, inherently it's coming from God. You're just not willing to draw the connection. And so someone would say, well, do you believe that murder is wrong? Well, it's against the law. If it weren't against the law, do you think that it's wrong? And someone will say, yes, my own personal morality believes it's wrong. Where did that come from? Right? It's not saying that there should be an absence of that morality. He's just trying to get to the heart of it and say, you're probably more spiritual than what you realize. That's what he was trying to say. This individual has gone down this dark road of you think that it is immorally reprehensible if I rape a child or rape a woman or rape anybody, kill anybody, kill a child, whatever. You think that it's morally reprehensible. Another person might not think that it's morally reprehensible. Obviously, we realize it's an evil world, so that exists, okay? But he is trying to say that your judgment is not correct, or at least it's not universal, because someone else has a different judgment. No, society, laws, morality, internal compass, all of that has said raping a child is wrong.
Yeah. It sounds like he thinks morals are immoral, which is insane.
Yeah. And he's saying that morals are subjective.
Yeah.
And it's in the eye of the beholder.
Right. And that's just not true.
And it's not.
And he looks a little bit like the character from The Devil's Advocate, Al Pacino, in that movie, who was playing the devil himself. I'm just going to throw that out there. We're going to take a quick 2-minute break, ladies and gentlemen. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back here in just a second.
I'm Brian Norris, retired Army First Sergeant, husband to Kelly, father of 3 amazing girls, and a lifelong Arkansan who puts faith, family, and fair elections first. When Independence County demanded real election transparency, I led the charge, petitioning voters and winning at the Arkansas Supreme Court. Now, Little Rock bureaucrats are punishing counties like Searcy for putting voters first. That's not real conservatism. It's big government overreach in disguise. That's why Trump allies like General Michael Flynn, Mike Lindell, Justice Michael Gableman, Colonel Conrad Reynolds, Senator Wendy Rogers, and Senator Mark Fincham back me. Together, we'll secure Arkansas's elections and inspire the nation. As Secretary of State, I'll implement President Trump's executive order, verify citizenship, replace hackable voting computers, and build trust with verifiable paper ballots. I'll cut red tape for businesses, harness our natural gas and lithium boom, and attract tech jobs to grow Arkansas strong. This is our fight, our future. Join us.
Paid for by Norris for Arkansas.
Behind every precious life, there was a choice. Behind every family moment, behind every special memory, there was a choice. A life of joy. A life that is beautifully and wonderfully made. At 7 Weeks Coffee, we are funding the pro-life movement, one cup at a time. Will you let your coffee serve a greater purpose?
All right, welcome back. Don't forget that 7 weeks, 7weekscoffee.com. Use the promo code Paul at checkout.
I just want to let you know that we got our 7 weeks coffee in over the weekend.
Okay, how
and
was it?
This morning was the first cup that I had. It was incredible. My wife loved it as well. So we both, we set our coffee the night before, and we got the Hope blend and the Life blend. So just, again, if you're not familiar, I think it's 15% of all sales, or maybe it's 10 or 15% of all sales go to pro-life advocacy programs and organizations. And so if you are a pro-lifer and you're going to buy coffee anyway, you're not going to have to suffer through crappy tasting coffee. This is incredible. So I really want to encourage everybody, as a person who has used it, promo code Paul.
Thank you, Rob. I appreciate that. Yeah, pregnancy resource centers, they have been doing the heavy lifting, especially before, even now, but even before Roe versus Wade was overturned. Those pregnancy resource centers were the ones that were helping, mothers in a crisis choose life after giving them an ultrasound. They say, oh, this is a living being. This is not just a clump of cells. So it's really, really good to do that. Gavin Newsom is in the news, ladies and gentlemen. And I just wanted to have a laugh. That was a pretty heavy topic that we just discussed, aliens being demons, as well as that guy who is absolutely, like, I don't know, the devil, I guess.
I wish honestly, if there were some, you could have heard what we were talking about during the commercial. It was pretty unfiltered. We have to keep it filtered for our TV audience, but that guy is pretty dang nuts.
Yeah, absolutely crazy. Here is Gavin Newsom, though. He was in a room full of an all-black crowd. Was this a traditionally black college? Let me look at this. Where was he exactly? No, it was just a black crowd in Georgia. And this is what he said to try to identify with them.
I'm not trying to impress you. I'm just trying to impress upon you. I'm like you. I'm no better than you. I'm a 960 SAT guy. And,
So I'm just like you.
I'm stupid.
I'm dumb. I didn't do well in my SATs. I'm just like you. It gets worse.
And I'm not trying to offend anyone, trying to act all there if you got 940. But literally a 960 SAT guy. I cannot, you've never seen me read a speech because I cannot read a speech. Maybe the wrong business to be in.
I'm just like you. I'm dumb, and I can't read.
Listen, folks, if we happen, like one of our clips we do the TikTok, we do Instagram, we do all these clips. If one of these clips ends up on the liberal side of TikTok or Instagram or whatever, and you're like, oh, I didn't see anything wrong with this. I want to tell you something right now. If you are a white liberal, especially a white liberal woman, okay, you are the most racist person in the United States. Because what do they tell people? You're stupid. I'm like you. I made low SAT scores. I can't read. You're too stupid to get an identification. You don't have a birth certificate. Nobody even knows who the hell you are. Okay? That's what
Who was it? Was it Biden that also said that black people are too stupid to use the internet? Or it was one of those leftists said something about they're not knowing how to use the internet.
Yeah. Like there's a famous street interview where somebody had gone to a college campus and they were asking all white people and they were just like, hey, basically, it was NYU. So he's walking around NYU and he's saying, hey, do you believe that voter ID laws are racist? And this is 5-6 years ago, whatever. And they're like, oh yeah. And they just say, well, they don't have access to computers and they don't have the knowledge of how to get these things, And so, yeah, this is racist. You shouldn't do this, whatever. And then it cuts to them just interviewing random black people in the Bronx, and be like, hey, do you know where the DMV is? Yeah, it's right down here on 8th Street, whatever. It's like, do you have an ID? Yeah, I got a driver's license. Of course, the person's just trying to like, why are you asking me such basic questions? And these are just random people. But these college students have been indoctrinated to say, oh, yeah, black people can't, and it's not just black people. Any minority, you can't get an identification. I'm like, almost every one of them got a phone in their hands. Anything you don't know, you can Google.
That's right.
Okay, but it speaks to how racist they are and don't even realize they're racist.
Yeah.
You're too stupid.
Well,
you don't know how to have an ID.
They just don't even see it. Like they'll ignore their own assumptions and stereotypes if they think it's going to allow their side to win elections. By the way, our monitor started smoking the other day, so we have a new monitor and we got to replace this one. But I just wanted you to see that meme that's up on the screen right now because I knew you couldn't see it. But that's what's been up there the whole time that you were talking. But anyway, so that was just kind of a fun thing. But I will say this. Supreme Court of the United States on Friday ruled against President Donald Trump's tariff. Now, as we said on this show, it was likely that the Supreme Court was going to rule against him, but it was also likely that it really wasn't going to be that big of a deal. And we were right, okay? Because President Trump has other statutory authority where he can use the tariffs. The tariffs that he has to get rid of, he's just going to put them right back on. Matter of fact, he did, and he raised the tariffs in response to this. And a lot of the tariffs were left in place even after the Supreme Court decision because it was a narrow decision, and he's going to – anyway, my point is this wasn't some giant win for the left, even though a lot of people thought it was. They had anticipated that this was likely the case. And now, actually, President Trump, the way I read it, even has some clarity from the Supreme Court as to how he can embargo countries and sanction them if he wants to.
Right. And we'll talk a lot tomorrow on the show about the State of the Union that's going to happen. And so I believe that, if you're a cynic here, you're thinking, hey, well, this Supreme Court decision, it just conveniently came down right before the State of the Union. And you've got, I believe that he's got some loyal people there, loyal conservatives on the Supreme Court, and then there's some other ones that rule in favor of him to spite themselves, or what's however I'm trying to say that is they don't want to do it, but they have to rule in his favor. And I don't know, if you're a conspiracy theorist, you think that they would put that decision out right before the State of the Union. I also think that Trump may have gotten a little bit of a gift in one respect, as weird as it sounds to be that way, that there was yet another assassination attempt against him. But by all accounts, so don't cut me off here to say, by all accounts, it seems like this young man was suffering through some mental issues here. Obviously, if he's trying to kill the president of the United States, he's got something going on.
Or just a total death wish.
Well, that's true, yeah. And so any loss of life, especially that young, that's just extremely, extremely tragic. But I will say that, happening after this Supreme Court thing, there's 4 attempts before they killed John F. Kennedy. This is now the 3rd one against Trump.
Yeah, that would be civil war.
Well, this is John Barron, and you.
So there's this Trump impersonator. I think this is impersonator. Some people would say this is really
somebody's
him.
saying this is Trump, and
I know.
So.
Somebody says John Barron called C-SPAN to complain about the Supreme Court nuking Trump tariffs. Yes, that John Barron, the fake name Trump used for decades. So that's why some people think this was really Trump. I just think it's a pretty good impersonator, honestly.
Well, this is John Barron, and this is the worst decision you ever have in your life, practically. Jack's going to agree with me, right? But this is a terrible decision. And you have Hakeem Jeffries, he's a dope, and you have Chuck Schumer, who can't cook a cheeseburger. Of course these people are happy. But true Americans will not be happy. And you have the woman earlier, I assume she's a woman, she's a Democrat, but she said she's disgraced. She's devastated.
All right,
by
John.
this.
We'll go to Chester, who's
What'd she say?
All right, Chuck or John or whatever.
in Baton Rouge,
We're going to
Louisiana.
So they just move on from the call.
I thought she called him, all right, Trump. I didn't know she said
maybe
that.
that's what he said. Yeah, all right, Trump.
In Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
She's disgraced. She's devastated.
All right,
by
John.
this.
We'll go to Chester. Who's
I think it was John.
Yeah, okay.
I think it was John.
Okay.
All right, John.
Well, it's interesting. Either that was Trump or that was a really good impersonator.
Yeah.
Of course, with AI, who knows, right?
Yeah, that's true. Who knows with AI? Posts. There's a name. Let's see. It says there's a name for the discomfort you're feeling watching the Olympics right now. If waving the American flag or chanting USA turns you off right now, you're not alone. Huffington Post's got a counter signal because everything's got to be about politics.
Huffington Post is a trash liberal rag. Okay.
Of course.
If you don't have any positive articles about any Republican on your website whatsoever, you are a trash liberal rag. That's what it is. Like, do these people consider themselves to be, like real journalists? Do they consider themselves to be actual investigators? I mean, they are the very definition of a liberal National Enquirer.
Listen, you're exactly right. Listen to this, though. This is hilarious.
Okay.
While President Donald Trump's deportation agenda separates families and federal agents detain 5-year-olds and kill unarmed civilians, American athletes are winning medals on behalf of the nation at the Olympics right now. This whiplash between pride for the United States competitors and national shame for the federal government is common. Even U.S. Olympians competing in the 2026 Milan Cortina Games in Italy feel ambivalent about representing the Stars and Stripes. There's obviously a lot going on that I'm not a big fan of. Wearing the flag doesn't mean I represent anything going on in the U.S., said U.S. Olympic skier Hunter Hess, which prompted Trump to later label him a real loser for his comments. The cognitive dissonance of rooting for U.S. sports while hating the U.S. government is so common that it continues to be one of the main topics I hold space for therapy in, said Los Angeles-based licensed clinical social worker Amy Matarosa.
If you're holding space in therapy for this stuff, like it wasn't there a stat that said 50% of all liberal women are in therapy?
I mean, I don't disagree with you. I mean, I'm sure that's out there. It's insane.
Or no, it was what it was. And it was 50% of all liberal women are on medication for depression and psychotic stuff or whatever. And the post was, that means half of the liberal women are running around unmedicated. Okay, we need to do something about that, right? But I would believe that the vast majority of them are also in therapy.
Yeah, no, I would.
And if you're holding a special place for this, like, I just need to talk about the shame I
mean, this is not to just totally discount therapy, or in general, but I would already assume that if you're going to therapy, you might be. I don't know what the breakdown is. It depends on what kind of therapy, too. But if you're going to a secular therapist, you're probably already left of center on average. There's probably the percentages are higher there. Yeah. Now that Trump is in office, this happened in Trump 1.0, but it's on steroids now. If you're a therapist in Washington, D.C., you are cleaning up right now. You are raising your rates.
Yep.
Because, your couch is now more valuable because there's more people triggered who just can't handle the fact that the rest of America disagrees with them, and they don't know what to do about it. So.
Yeah, they want to villainize the right, and then you're just like, okay, well, that's 77 million people minimum Like, that's not even including all the people who don't vote, you know. And so you just say, oh, well, it's not 77 million because there were some you know, whatever you want to call it, independents, which I just don't know that there's a true independent anymore, Paul. I believe that there are people who call themselves independent, but they're not really. It's kind of the way the Megyn Kellys of the world, who I respect and follow her show. I love Megyn Kelly. You know, calls herself a libertarian, that she's not a conservative, but just about every belief that she has is conservative.
I think I think a lot of the independents, you know, are leaning. They just don't want to be labeled. They don't want to be held responsible. You know, there's this fear of, well, I don't want people to think that if the Republicans do something bad, I don't want to be blamed for it. If the Democrats do something bad, I don't want to be blamed for it. So I'm an independent.
Do you think it's going to relax after Trump's 4 years, and we have at the very least we have more polished politicians? Unless you got an AOC, I think she's going to be a
I don't know.
You know, I mean, like, if you've got a J.D. Vance or a Marco Rubio, they're going to say inflammatory things, but they're not going to be.
That's a good point.
You know, we're not going to get 2:00 in the morning tweets.
Right. There's only one President Trump. Fundamentally, what President Trump did was he rejected the premise.
Sure.
Like, if the media has a premise, if the media is the DJ at a club, and all the politicians they dance to the beat and maybe express themselves in different ways, but it's going to be to the same beat. Donald Trump shows up with his own sound system.
Yeah, he's got his own boom box over here.
Refuses to allow. And so,
that's a good analogy.
If you learn anything from Trump, you learn that.
Sure.
J.D. Vance has learned that. I mean, when he was asked about, Alex Preddy, are you sorry? For what happened? Do you owe them an apology? He says, for what?
For what? Yeah.
And so that's how you have to handle these psychos in the left-wing media.
Like, you're crazy for asking and thinking that I should apologize over someone who tried to impede law enforcement and lost his life for it.
Exactly. Exactly. Let's see. What do we got? Let's see where we're at. We got about 2 minutes left. The Mexico situation. So one of the reasons we're expanding the show to 2 hours is because I still have another hour worth of content to cover if I wanted to. No problem.
Yeah.
Of course, we're not doing that yet. We're going to announce that later. But this Mexico situation. So yesterday we get this huge alert that the drug overlord of the Jalisco cartel was taken out, and I think it was a joint operation between the United States and the Mexican government. I've seen some reports about that. But then the Mexican cartels just started setting everything on fire, like the whole country, and then you have American tourists who are down there vacationing, and they're told by our own State Department to shelter in place because it was so uncertain. So that's a big deal. And you kind of wonder, that Mexican president, whatever her name is, Steinbaum, she's rejected Donald Trump's offer to send in the United States military to essentially liberate that government. And she said no, and now we'll see what happens. I mean, I don't know if you know anything or have anything else to add on that. But.
Well, I mean, if you wanted to get rid of the cartel and just allowing our military, I mean, just think of what damage SEAL Team 6 could do.
Yeah, look what we did at Venezuela.
Yeah, I mean, and so you're talking about this would be a much larger scale, of course, trying to take out all of these cartel members. There's probably, there may be 1 million of them, who knows. But at the same time, as dangerous and as armed as they are, and as trained as they are in what they do, they're not trained the way our military is trained. So she's purposefully choosing to have mayors of these Mexican cities get murdered if they speak out against the cartel. Bodies just piling up. She's okay with this, apparently, because, she's not allowing a solution to happen.
I think you're exactly right. And, really, when you get right down to it, the whole way this has worked, at least from my standpoint, just looking, thousands of miles away,
right?
I don't really think you can really tell where the Federales police force ends and the Mexican cartel begins. I think that's the whole problem. I think at least from my standpoint, any opposition between those two is just theatrics at best. Because I got a feeling there's a big crossover between the Mexican drug cartel and politicians, as well as the Federales.
Sure.
So that's my opinion. Rob Spencer, man, I'm so glad that you were here once again as the co-host.
Glad to be on the show as always. Looking forward to our huge announcement coming up.
Looking forward to that as well, folks. That's all the time that we have for this edition. I want to remind everybody to like, share, subscribe, do all the things, regardless of what platform you're listening on. I want to give a shout out to our sponsors, Red Vive Health, New Horizon Real Estate, Gateway Sight and Sound, 7 Weeks Coffee. Make sure you use promo code Paul, and Sherrod Chiropractic. We really appreciate it. God bless. We'll see you tomorrow.